Let's bring in former FBI and CIA counterterror official and expert, Mr. Phil Mudd. Good to see you, brother.
Thank you.
Who are you worried about and why?
I would worry about Islamic extremists, and I don't believe there are many, if any, Iranian sleeper cells here. I would worry about domestic political violence conducted by people who look like you and me. And as a practitioner, I can give you evidence why. Number one, there's 330 million Americans. How many of them are energized left and right by Democrats and Republicans by what they see happening in Congress versus how many might be energized by Iran? There's tens of millions of people in this country who are angry about politics. Number two, evidence. How many times do you see political acts in this country, acts of violence committed by Middle Easterners versus people who are angry at a governor, at a mayor, at the U.S. Congress? And number three, you mentioned something really important that we forget, and that is messaging. The messaging from the left and the right here is sometimes verging on violent. That gives younger people, especially who are emotional, an opportunity cover to say, I want to go and do something about it. I'd worry about Americans who look like you and me, who are energized by politics, Chris, and I think the evidence backs that up.
The suggestion that it's getting worse here at home, the evidence of the Republican Party yielding to MAGA, which is without question fringe in its rhetoric, if not in its deliverables. And now we see no more Democratic Party. They have their own mirror image of MAGA that embraces a lot of fundamentalism, or at least gives excuses for it. What does that mean in the picture?
This is huge. This is underreported, and if I were in your shoes, which I hope never to be, if I were in your shoes, I'd talk about it more. Let me tell you why from my old life. Do you hear much more about ISIS? Do you hear much more about Al-Qaeda? That is not just an operational result. That is partly because the messaging from places like Syria and Iraq from ISIS, the messaging from places like Afghanistan from Al-Qaeda doesn't exist. So a 17-year-old who wants to learn about ISIS or Al-Qaeda has to look on YouTube. If you want to see someone pushing, I wouldn't say violence, but getting pretty close to pushing to violence about right-wing and left-wing politics in this country, look to Congress. So messaging, I'm saying, is critical, whether it's the people I followed overseas, Islamic extremists, or whether it's extremists in this country. And the messaging in this country is far worse than it used to be, Chris.
I mean, look, what is the main target of both fringes now? Destroy the system. Destroy the elites, destroy the establishment. And it's not that far off from something way back in 1789 called the French Revolution. Kill the rich. We are not that far from that right now.
People in this country do not realize what we have because they don't travel, and let me be blunt and get rude, they don't have passports. If you travel in the world I lived in, which was mostly the Middle East, South Asia, and Southeast Asia, for 25 years, the line between autocracy, violence, and democracy is very thin. People here talk about the opposition party like they're the enemy because they don't recognize when you say they're the enemy, the Democrats are the enemy or the Republicans, there might be 1/10 of 1% of your followers who say, I'm going after the mayor, I'm going after the governor, I'm going after Congress. It's a numbers game in the world I lived in, and 1/10 of 1% of the American population, if they are radicalized toward violence, is a lot of people, Chris. You can't follow that many people with the FBI.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.